The city never sleeps. Beneath the glittering skyline, beneath the soft hum of passing cars and the glow of penthouse lights, are the secrets no one speaks about. People hide behind glass walls and million-dollar smiles, but sometimes the truth slips through the cracks. And that's exactly how Daniel Cole's story began. He wasn't born into money, nor did he crave it. He only wanted a chance to prove that hard work still meant something in a world that worshipped connections. But one decision, one invitation, would change everything. Daniel was 28, an architect working long nights in a rented studio overlooking the city's skyline. His sketches were beautiful, bold, clean, full of soul, but beauty didn't pay rent. One evening, as thunder rolled across the city, his mentor called. "Daniel, you remember Victor Langford? The billionaire real estate guy?" "Yes. He's looking for a personal designer for a new family estate. I put your name forward." Daniel froze. Victor Langford, the man whose name was synonymous with wealth, control, and quiet fear. Still, an opportunity was an opportunity. 2 days later, he stood before the Langford mansion, a masterpiece of glass and steel, overlooking the entire city. But it wasn't the mansion that made him pause, it was the people inside. The Langfords looked perfect, on the surface. Victor, the patriarch. Powerful, polished, but cold as winter steel. Margaret, his wife, elegant and distant, with eyes that seemed to carry ghosts. And Lena, their daughter, warm, curious, with a kind of light Daniel hadn't seen in years. As Daniel presented his designs, Lena leaned forward, studying him. "You see the world differently," she said. "Maybe," Daniel replied softly. "I just try to make broken things beautiful again." Victor smirked, amused but intrigued. "We'll see if you can make this family's vision work." Those words carried more weight than Daniel could have known. Weeks turned into months. Daniel became a fixture in the Langford home. He worked late, sketching, revising, building, but what he built wasn't just walls. He built connections. He'd often find Lena sitting by the balcony at night, glass of wine in hand. They'd talk about art, loss, and dreams they couldn't afford. She laughed like someone who hadn't in years. But whispers followed. "How's staff watching?" Victor's eyes narrowing whenever Daniel entered the room. One night, Victor called him into his office. "You're talented," Victor said, "but remember your place." "I'm just doing my job, sir." "Good. Keep it that way." The warning was clear. But so was something else, fear. The Langford estate was quiet that night, the kind of quiet that hides secrets rather than peace. Rain traced the glass walls as Daniel and Lena stood in Victor's office. Stacks of contracts, ledgers, and old company records cluttered the mahogany desk. The air smelled of old whiskey and power. Lena whispered, "These files, they don't match the charity reports." Her voice trembled, part fear, part anger. Daniel leaned closer, scrolling through a tablet. "He's been moving funds, donations, orphanage money, into shell companies. My God, this isn't just oversight. It's theft." Lena closed her eyes. "My father did this." Daniel hesitated. "Or someone working for him. But the signatures, they're all his." She turned away, tears welling. "He always said he built this company for family. For me." Daniel reached for her shoulder. "Maybe he lost sight of that. But we can still." A faint click interrupted him. He froze. It wasn't the sound of thunder, it was closer. Sharper. Mechanical. Somewhere above them, a red light blinked, once. Unseen, Richard Hale, Victor's head of security, watched from a dim surveillance room down the hall. His jaw tightened as he adjusted the volume on the monitor, hearing every word. Richard had built his career on loyalty, to Victor, to the Langford name. But in recent years, his loyalty had twisted into fear. He had taken money from the same offshore accounts Daniel was uncovering, small amounts at first, then more. Enough to damn him if anyone found out. Watching them now, Richard felt the walls closing in. "She's going to turn him against Victor," he muttered to himself. "And that boy, he'll take me down with him." His phone buzzed. A text from Victor. "Status." Richard's fingers hovered over the keypad. Then he typed back. "Everything's under control." But it wasn't. Back in the office, Lena turned to Daniel, determination flickering through the tears. "We can't hide this," she said. "We have to show him." Daniel nodded. "Tomorrow. We'll confront him together." From the surveillance room, Richard whispered, "No, you won't." He switched off the camera feed and made a call. His tone was cold, professional, the voice of a man burying guilt beneath duty. "Sir," he said when Victor answered, "you might want to know, the boy's been in your private office, accessing files he shouldn't." Victor's silence on the other end was deadly. When he finally spoke, it was low and calm. "Handle it." Richard hung up, staring at his reflection in the dark glass. For a moment, he looked like the man he used to be. Then the reflection blinked red, the camera light catching his eye, and whatever conscience he had left disappeared into shadow. The next morning, the Langford mansion woke under gray skies. The rain hadn't stopped. It had simply grown quieter, like the calm before a storm. Downstairs, the air was heavy. The scent of coffee and tension mixed into something unbreathable. Victor Langford sat at the head of the long marble table, his phone in hand, face unreadable. Richard Hale stood behind him, silent as a shadow. Lena entered first, eyes still swollen from last night. Daniel followed, holding a folder, evidence, truth, and the end of their piece. "Morning," Victor said without looking up. His voice was even, too even. "Sit." Lena hesitated. "Father, we need to talk." "I know," Victor interrupted. "Richard told me everything." Daniel frowned. "Everything." Victor finally looked up. His gaze was sharp, the kind that could cut through steel. "You broke into my private files. You accessed restricted data. You've been stealing, Daniel." The words hit like a gunshot. "What?" Daniel's voice cracked. "That's not true. I was trying to." "Don't," Victor snapped, slamming his hand against the table. "Don't insult me with excuses." Lena stood, voice trembling. "He didn't steal anything. He found documents, things you should see." Victor turned to her, his expression softening just enough to hurt. "Lena, you don't know what this boy is capable of. I took him in, gave him a life, and this is how he repays me." Daniel rose from his chair, fists clenched. "I've never taken anything from you, sir. But you." He stopped himself, shaking with emotion. "You've been taking from everyone else." Silence. Then, the faintest flicker of guilt crossed Victor's eyes, gone as soon as it appeared. Richard shifted, his eyes darting between them. Victor leaned forward. "I trusted you. I saw potential in you. I let you near my daughter. And this betrayal, is what I get." Lena's voice broke. "Father, please. He's telling the truth." "Enough." Victor's voice thundered through the hall. "You will not defend him." Daniel took a step closer. "You're being lied to, Victor. Richard's covering for you both. Check the accounts yourself, the offshore ones." That made Richard's stomach twist. He masked it behind a cold stare. Victor looked at Richard, a long, quiet look. "Is that true?" Richard didn't flinch. "Sir, the boy's desperate. He's been trying to cover his tracks since last night. I caught him downloading confidential files." Daniel's jaw dropped. You're lying." But Victor's face was set in stone now. The verdict had been made. "I want you out," Victor said coldly. "Before sunset." Lena gasped. "No, you can't." "Enough, Lena." Victor's voice cracked for the first time. "He's finished here." Daniel stood frozen for a moment, then nodded slowly. His voice was quiet, almost broken. "You're making a mistake. But I'm done proving myself to a man who forgot what truth sounds like." He turned to Lena, her eyes filled with tears. "I'll be okay," he whispered. But they both knew it was a lie. Richard brushes close to Daniel as he leaves. Daniel's eyes flickered down, reacting to a cold, hard object beneath Richard's jacket. Victor didn't see it. But Daniel did. For the first time, he realized this wasn't about family anymore. It was about survival. Outside, the rain started again. Harder this time. And somewhere deep inside the mansion, a father's pride and a son's hope shattered at the same time. Days turned into weeks. The city moved on. But Daniel didn't. He found himself in the kind of places people like Victor Langford never saw. Cheap apartments, dim streetlights, silence that stretched for miles. The world outside the mansion was real, raw, and unfiltered. The glow of luxury was gone, replaced by flickering bulbs, unpaid bills, and a mirror that reflected someone he didn't quite recognize anymore. He got a job fixing computers at a rundown repair shop. The pay barely covered rent. But it was honest work, something that couldn't be taken from him. At night, he'd stare out the window at the skyline, the Langford Tower visible in the distance, glass and gold, unreachable now. He'd whisper, "You were right, Victor. I didn't belong there." But somewhere beneath the hurt, he still believed he would prove otherwise. Lena sat by the window, clutching a small bracelet, Daniel's, left behind the night he left. Her father had buried himself in work, avoiding every conversation that reminded him of that morning. Richard was always nearby, too quiet, too composed. But something about him had changed, a kind of nervous energy beneath the surface. Late one night, Lena overheard a call from his study. His voice, low, urgent. Transfer everything before he finds out. Victor's slipping, and the board's already suspicious. She froze. That name, Richard. The betrayal Daniel had warned about, it was real. Lena's breath caught. She stepped back, the floor creaking underfoot. Richard turned. Their eyes met. Listening to private calls, Miss Langford? He said smoothly, though his eyes were sharp now, dangerous. Lena swallowed hard. You're stealing from my father. Richard smiled faintly. You're smarter than he gives you credit for. She ran, but he caught her wrist before she reached the hall. Careful, he whispered. You don't want to make the same mistake Daniel did. She yanked free, slapping his hand away. You framed him. His smile didn't fade. And I can frame you, too. Lena ran upstairs, heart pounding, hands trembling as she locked herself in her room. Her thoughts raced. Daniel knew. He tried to warn us. She grabbed her phone, scrolled through old messages, his last unread text. I'll still protect you, even from afar. She whispered, I'm sorry, Daniel. I should have believed you. Rain again. Always rain. He sat at his desk, typing out resumes, when a message pinged on his phone. Lena, I found something. You were right. He's stealing, and I think he's dangerous. Daniel's chest tightened. He typed back, do not confront him alone. But before he could hit send, another message came through. Lena, too late. He knows. The phone slipped from his hand. Daniel grabbed his coat and ran. Through the rain, through the streets, through everything he thought he'd left behind. Because family or not, no one deserved to face a monster alone. Thunder rolled as Daniel arrived, soaked to the bone. The gates were open. The lights flickered inside. He ran through the corridor, the same one where his life had fallen apart, calling out, Lena. A crash. Upstairs. He followed the sound to Victor's study. Richard stood there, gun in hand, and Lena pressed against the wall. Victor, pale and shaken, sat behind his desk, realization dawning too late. You stole from me. Richard smiled. You made it too easy, old man. Too blind to see who was loyal and who wasn't. Daniel stepped in. Drop it, Richard. Richard turned. You just don't know when to stay gone, do you? Lena's eyes widened. Daniel. Victor steps in front of Lena. Stop it, Richard. If someone has to pay, it'll be me. Richard aimed the gun, but Daniel was faster. He lunged forward, the two colliding against the desk. The gun went off, once, echoing through the halls. Silence. Then a thud. Richard lay on the floor, the gun beside him. Victor stared, torn between shock and shame, realizing that Daniel had saved him too. Daniel stood, clutching his shoulder, blood spreading across his sleeve. Lena ran to him, sobbing. You came back. He smiled weakly. I told you. I'd protect you. Days later, Daniel sat on a hospital bed, arm in a sling. Victor entered, slower this time, no longer a man of pride, but a father who had finally seen his reflection clearly. I don't deserve to ask for forgiveness, Victor said quietly. Daniel looked at him. You don't have to ask. Just change. Victor nodded, tears breaking through years of restraint. I will. Starting now. Outside the window, dawn broke over the city. The skyline gleamed gold, not with wealth, but with warmth. Lena entered, smiling softly. Doctor says you'll recover fast. Guess that's what happens when you fight for something real. Daniel chuckled. Maybe for someone real. Sometimes, betrayal comes from those closest to us. But redemption, that comes from the heart willing to rise again. In the end, Daniel didn't lose a family. He helped rebuild one. And in the quiet after the storm, the Langfords finally learned that love, truth, and forgiveness are the only things that money can't buy. If you enjoyed this story, do not forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you.